picture this for a moment. The internet, not tied to cables buried underground, but raining down from space. Yeah. Everywhere in India.
Yeah, like from the busiest streets in Mumbai straight to the quietest village way out there.
Exactly. Instant connection. That's the big promise of Starlink, isn't it?
Yeah.
Elon Musk's satellite internet thing. And the stuff we've looked at really paints a fascinating picture of their journey trying to make this happen in India.
It really is. You've got this super advanced space tech meeting, well, a massive market full of potential, but also navigating some really unique local challenges. It's not just about, faster downloads. It could actually reshape how, like, 1 billion+ people connect to the digital world.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, our mission here in this deep dive is to really get under the skin of this whole Starlink in India story. We're going to unpack the tech, the regulations, find the key moments, the surprising bit.
And figure out what it all means.
Yeah. We've got some great material here on Starlink's plans, the Indian rules, the competitors. It's quite a scene. So let's try and make sense of it all. We'll look at the tech, this really important meeting that just happened, the hurdles they still face, and who else is trying to get a slice of India's digital future.
And it's crucial to remember this isn't just like plug and play for a global company. India has its own distinct setup, its own opportunities and challenges. Starlink's experience really shows that.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What exactly is Starlink bringing? What's the core idea?
Well, basically, it's broadband internet delivered from space. They have this huge constellation, like over 7,000 small satellites whizzing around in low Earth orbit.
7,000, wow.
And growing. Think of it like a giant Wi-Fi mesh blanketing the planet. The big advantage, especially for a place like India with such varied terrain, is that it doesn't need miles and miles of fiber optic cables or loads of ground towers.
Right, which can be super hard or expensive to build out in rural or remote areas.
Exactly. We see these amazing speeds in cities, Mumbai, Bengaluru. They're flying. But then you go outside the cities, and it's often spotty signals, or sometimes, well, nothing at all.
That digital divide we hear about?
Precisely. A huge chunk of the population, especially rural folks, just struggles to get online reliably. And that impacts everything: education, healthcare, jobs, you name it. Starlink's pitch is basically, we can bypass all that ground stuff and beam internet straight down.
So bridging the gap.
That's the idea, a potential leapfrog over those infrastructure hurdles.
Okay, but to do that in India, they need permission, right? This specific license, GMPCS.
Yeah. The Global Mobile Personal Communication by Satellite License. It comes from the Department of Telecommunications, the DOT. And getting that license, well, that's been quite the saga for Starlink.
Which brings us to this meeting, April 16th, 2025. That sounds like it might have been a turning point.
It was definitely significant. I mean, you had the Commerce Minister himself, Piyush Goyal, meeting with Starlink's top people, Chad Gibbs, Ryan Goodnight, right there in New Delhi. That's not just a casual chat.
No, that signals something.
For sure. And then Goyal posts about it on X, mentions their cutting-edge technology, their partnerships, future investment plans. It suggests maybe a bit more positive engagement. Perhaps things are moving forward.
It feels strategic. Starlink showing up saying, look, here's our tech. We're ready to partner with Indian companies. We want to invest. That tends to get attention, right? Especially from a company like SpaceX.
Absolutely. And the timing's interesting, too. The DOT's been understandably very careful about these licenses. There are big questions around security, where data gets stored when it's bouncing off satellites. So the fact that they're reportedly doing due diligence now might mean Starlink's getting closer to ticking all those boxes. Plus, others already have this license.
Like who?
Bharti-backed OneWeb has one, and so does Geosatellite Communications. So there's a path already laid out, a precedent.
But Starlink's own path wasn't exactly smooth from the start, was it? I seem to remember some issues back in 2021. They kind of jumped the gun.
Oh, yeah. That was, let's call it a premature market entry. They started taking pre-orders, collecting money, before they actually had the license to operate.
Ouch.
Yeah. Thousands of people signed up, super excited. But the DOT stepped in pretty quickly and said, hold on, you can't do that without a license. So Starlink had to refund everyone. Someone called it a cosmic facepalm moment.
Okay.
It really hammered home just how complex India's regulations can be, even for, a space tech giant.
And it shows it's not just about launching rockets. There's a whole checklist on the ground.
Totally. You need that main GMPCS license from DOT, but you also need authorization from Space, that's the space promotion body, and a wireless operating license, a WALI-OL.
More acronyms.
Always. And each one has its own list of conditions, data security rules, how calls get routed, all sorts of technical stuff.
So several hoops to jump through, not just one.
Exactly. And they've been working on it since that 2021 stumble. Applied for the GMPCS license officially in October 2022. They've reportedly agreed to set up ground stations in India, store sensitive data locally. Apparently, by late 2024, they'd cleared some big hurdles on that front.
Okay, but they're not alone in this race, are they? You mentioned OneWeb and Geo.
Definitely not alone. It's getting crowded. You've got Parties OneWeb, which is partnered with Eutelsat. Then there's Geosatellite Communications, that's Reliance Geo teaming up with SES. Both of them already have their GMPCS licenses.
So they're technically ahead in the regulatory race.
In terms of that specific license, yes, but they're still waiting on spectrum allocation, which is another key piece. And then there's Amazon's Project Kuiper gearing up for launch in 2025. Even Apple's partner, Globalstar, has apparently applied to InSpace.
Wow. So the potential must be huge if everyone's calling in. What are we talking about in terms of market size?
It's massive. In space projects, India's space economy could jump from around $8 billion now to like $44 billion by 2033.
44 billion.
It's enormous potential. But beyond the money, it's about connecting all those people. Geo and Airtel are obviously huge already in mobile broadband, and Starlink clearly wants a big piece of that expanding pie.
Which leads to something really interesting. These partnerships that formed in March 2025. Geo and Airtel actually partnering with Starlink, even though they have their own satellite plan.
Yeah, that turned some heads. It's a bit like Ford suddenly teaming up with GM on a specific project while still competing fiercely everywhere else.
Right. What's the thinking there?
Well, Geo seems to want to integrate Starlink with its Geo Air Fiber and Geofiber, probably to reach those super remote places where fiber is just too difficult. Airtel looks like it's focusing on using Starlink for business customers, enterprise solutions, and tricky locations.
And they'll sell the Starlink gear too.
Yeah, both will act as distributors. The strategy behind it, well, it could be complex. Maybe having strong local partners like Geo and Airtel helps smooth the regulatory path for Starlink. Maybe there's government influence given how important telecoms are. It's a fascinating web.
Okay, let's dig into something crucial for making any of this work. Spectrum. Radio frequencies. How do they get those? Because that caused a bit of a fight, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A major debate. You had Reliance Jio and Vodafone Idea arguing really strongly that satellite spectrum should be auctioned off, just like mobile spectrum. Their argument was basically about a level playing field.
Makes sense from their perspective, maybe.
But Starlink, OneWeb, and Amazon's Kuiper were pushing hard the other way. They wanted administrative allocation, basically, assigning it based on global standards set by the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union. Elon Musk even tweeted about it, saying auctions would be weird for satellite spectrum.
And where did Airtel land on this? They have OneWeb.
Interestingly, Airtel sided with Starlink on this one. They argued auctions would just drive up costs and slow down getting services to those rural areas that need it most.
So what did the government decide in the end?
They landed on administrative allocation, but with a fee. This was back in late 2024, based on the new Telecommunications Act. The regulator, TRAI, is working out the exact pricing and terms now.
So a win for the Starlink camp on that front?
Generally seen that way, yes. It removed a pretty big potential roadblock.
It's pretty obvious why India is such a huge prize for Starlink, isn't it? Just the sheer number of people.
Absolutely massive. You've got, what, 600 million internet users already, and it's still growing fast. Plus, that huge rural population that's still largely offline, it's just an enormous opportunity.
And Starlink's tech seems almost tailor-made for the geography.
Exactly. High-speed, reliable broadband, potentially anywhere, without needing to dig trenches for miles. It fits India's diverse landscape really well. Musk himself said he thought Starlink could be incredibly helpful for remote villages there.
And the partnerships with Geo and Airtel really tie into that, leveraging their existing reach.
For sure. Geo wants to connect everyone. Airtel wants to boost its business solutions. Starlink fits into those goals.
And it sounds like government policy is shifting a bit too, becoming more SATCOM friendly.
Yeah, there seems to be a push to streamline the rules, align them more with global standards. That definitely helps companies like Starlink and Kuiper. And InSpace, talking about India grabbing 8% of the global space market by 2033, that signals they want growth in this sector.
But even with that momentum, the actual rulebook still sounds complicated, like a 30-page terms and conditions document, as one source put it.
It is detailed, yeah. There are apparently 30 or 40 conditions just for the GMPCS license, things like routing calls through local gateways, providing call data records. Very specific stuff.
And Starlink had issues with some of those.
They reportedly flagged some conditions as maybe technically infeasible, which has led to ongoing back and forth with the DT.
And telecom minister, Scindia, he's been pretty firm, no cutting corners.
Very firm. His message has basically been, tick all the boxes, follow all the rules, then you get your license. It really shows that balancing act the government is doing, wanting innovation and investment, but also being really careful about security and data privacy.
You have the local data storage, the network control centers.
Yeah.
Those seem non-negotiable.
And Starlink has agreed to those, which is a big step. It shows they're willing to play by India's rules, even if it's complex.
It's kind of funny, though, isn't it? A company that can launch reusable rockets and put thousands of satellites in orbit getting tangled up in paperwork.
Hey, yeah, it's like Superman being told he can't fly because his pilot's license expired. The contrast is pretty stark.
And the whole competitors being partners thing adds another layer of, well, weirdness.
Definitely unusual.
Uh.
And the spectrum debate felt a bit like a sci-fi plot point at times.
Okay, so let's look ahead. If they get this GMPCS license soon, what happens next? What are the immediate next steps?
Well, securing the license is step one, the big one. After that, it's all about spectrum allocation from the DOT. They need those frequencies assigned.
Right.
Once they have spectrum, they need to finalize their rollout plan and actually start deploying the service. And that's where those partnerships with Geo and Airtel become absolutely crucial.
Oh, the boots on the ground part, installation customer service.
Exactly. Last mile connectivity, using Geo and Airtel's massive retail presence, their enterprise networks, Starlink needs them to actually reach customers effectively across India.
And then there's the price tag. India's famously price sensitive. How will Starlink compete when Geo and Airtel offer pretty cheap data already?
That is the million-dollar or maybe billion-dollar question. Pricing is critical. They'll have to find a sweet spot. Maybe bundled deals through Geo or Airtel. Offer premium performance. It won't be easy competing on price alone.
Plus, they still have OneWeb, Geo SES, Kuiper coming.
The competition isn't going away. Starlink's advantages are its big constellation and its track record elsewhere, but India needs a specific approach.
When you step back, this whole Starlink saga, it's really part of a much bigger story, isn't it? India's massive push for digital transformation.
Totally. Connecting 40% of the population still offline, that's a huge national goal. And satellite tech is genuinely well-suited for reaching those difficult areas. Think about telemedicine, online learning. The potential impact is immense.
Yeah.
So the government's trying to encourage this tech, bring in investment, but also make sure it's done safely and fairly. It's a really complex balancing act.
So, wrapping this up, it feels like Starlink's quest for India's skies is at a really interesting point, maybe even a tipping point, especially after that April 16th meeting.
Yeah, that meeting felt important, like real progress might finally be happening on that license. But, we have to remember there are still big hurdles. The final approvals, getting that spectrum, dealing with all the competition, it's not a done deal yet.
Definitely not. So you should think about all this. Consider what it really means. A country of over 1 billion people getting high-speed internet beamed down from space. It's way more than just faster Netflix, right? It's about unlocking potential, driving innovation, maybe even changing what connected means in the 21st century. That makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other huge challenges could be tackled with this kind of technology and, well, sheer persistence?